Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has accused Washington of what he called fabricating a war against his country. The US is escalating its military presence in Latin America by deploying its most advanced warship. Earlier, the Pentagon said it killed 6 men in a strike in international waters in the region, claiming the vessel was smuggling drugs from Venezuela.
This footage is said to show yet another US strike on a suspected drug smuggling boat. At least the 10th such attack in the Caribbean in recent weeks. At least 40 people have been killed in these operations, among them Trinidadian fisherman Rishi Samaru. His family insists he had turned his life around after a troubled youth and was no criminal and just out fishing.
I want justice for my son. No one had a right to take my son away from me like this.
Now the US is escalating further, deploying its newest and most advanced aircraft carrier to the Caribbean, the USS Gerald Ford. Some 5,000 sailors and Marines are on board, supporting operations against maritime drug trafficking. Washington accuses Venezuelan President Maduro of aiding and profiting from the drug trade. Caracas rejects the narrative, calling it a new form of imperial aggression and a pretext to destabilize the socialist government.
And the people of the United States know it. They're making up a new eternal war. They promised never to go to war again, and yet they are creating one. We will prevent it with the mobilization of the peoples of South America. As South America and the Caribbean together say, no to war, yes to peace, yes to prosperity, yes to living in harmony.
US President Donald Trump recently said that the CIA has been authorized to conduct covert operations in Venezuela. For many in Latin America, these new escalations and the military buildup in the Caribbean echo past interventions, like in Chile, Nicaragua or Panama, where governments were toppled by the US in the name of security and to shift the geopolitical order.
I'm joined now by DW reporter Oscar Schlenker, who spent many years reporting from Venezuela. Oscar, great to see you. So how is Venezuela reacting to the US sending an aircraft carrier to the Caribbean?
Well, there's a lot of expectancy of what's going to happen. Nicolas Maduro himself has been calling for peace to try and de-escalate the tensions. He's not letting out too many jokes and name-calling as he usually does, and is taking the threat seriously in his speeches. Meanwhile, he threatened with a general strike if he is ousted and ordered new military defense maneuvers on Venezuela's coastline. Now, the military is defiant against any intention of regime change. Defense Minister Padrino Lopez said yesterday the armed forces will not allow any government submissive to U.S. interests, referring to the opposition leaders in Venezuela. We have registered an increase in persecution, arrests, and forced disappearances against opposition leaders and their family members in the past couple of months, even arresting people for personal messages on social media and on-air comments. So Maduro has even proposed creating an app so his supporters can report and accuse suspects of dissent on social media.
Now, Washington claims that Maduro is leading a drugs cartel, but Maduro says that, you've already mentioned it there, the US is seeking a regime change. So how does Venezuela's opposition see this, though?
Well, the opposition has rallied around Nobel Peace Prize recipient Maria Corina Machado, who is currently in hiding in Venezuela. This prize has been useful to gather different voices within the opposition and prevent fragmentation, which has been a factor of failure in the past for the opposition. So the opposition agrees that organized crime supports Maduro's regime, and they also agree there needs to be a regime change that can restore democracy and this electoral victory from last year's election that Maduro and institutions loyal to the regime say that he won. However, regarding Trump's military incursion, the opposition has different takes. Some reject the U.S. invasion in Venezuela. Others have said that surgical removal of Maduro and key figures in his administration is needed. but they stopped short of supporting a full-on invasion. And we did see that Maria Corina Machado also thanked Donald Trump and dedicated the Nobel Peace Prize to him, perhaps in a strategy to de-escalate tensions that could result in casualties in Venezuela.
Now, Oscar, we've seen US military interventions in Latin America in the past. How is the current situation being viewed across the region?
Well, it's a mixed bag at this point. Mexico's Sheinbaum and Brazil's Lula da Silva have expressed concerns about U.S. invasion. Colombia's Petro has launched himself into the conflict supporting Maduro. But we also see a lot of support for Maria Corina Machado in most of the region. Of course, Cuba and Nicaragua are traditional allies of Chavismo. But elsewhere, countries in the Caribbean, Central and South America are cooperating with the U.S. And many leaders from the right and the left have accused Maduro's regime of being involved in criminal activity that has affected their countries and even label him as a dictator in Venezuela.
All right, we'll leave it there, but great to get that update from you. DW's Oscar Schlenker. Thank you.